Coming up on iOS Today, Rosemary Orchard and I take a dip into Apple Arcade. Yes, it's time for an update on what you can get if you become an Apple Arcade subscriber. Stay tuned.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
This is iOS Today, episode 689, with Rosemary Orchard and Mikah Sargent, recorded Tuesday, January 23rd, for Thursday, February 8th, 2024. Checking in with Apple Arcade. This show is brought to you by members like you. Thanks. Welcome back to iOS Today, the show where we talk all things iOS, tvOS, HomePodOS, watchOS, VisionOS, and all the OSs in between. That is what we talk about on this show. We love to talk about that stuff. Basically, our job is to help you make the most of these expensive, quality, wonderful devices that you have and tell you about apps, settings, tips, tricks, so that you know you are getting everything you can out of your devices. I am one of your hosts, Mikah Sargent.
And I am Rosemary Orchard, and so excited for today's episode because I kind of teased it last week and maybe I bullied you into it a little bit, Mikah. But at the same time, we love helping folks get value for money out of their Apple services as well as understanding their products. So it seemed like a good option for an episode.
Absolutely. And I am apologizing to our wonderful technical director who at the beginning of this episode said, hey, do I need to worry about your phone being in landscape? And I said, no, Kevin, everything's in portrait. And I was lying because I've launched the game and it is indeed in landscape. So, look at that.
Mikah.
This is why Kevin's a professional. So this is Tamagotchi Adventure Kingdom, the first game from Apple Arcade that we're going to talk about. Importantly, I do want to note that Apple Arcade games are available as part of an Apple Arcade subscription. You can subscribe to Apple Arcade on its own for $6.99 a month, or you can get it as part of a larger subscription, like the Apple, premium subscription that gives you access to Apple One. Thank you. That gives you access to multiple things, the news. Thank you. Yes, the Apple One trial gives you access to Apple News and to all sorts of stuff, Apple Arcade, Apple TV Plus, etc. I find it's a really good deal, and so I am an Apple One subscriber. But let's talk about this game because it is relatively new to the Apple Arcade store. It's called Tamagotchi Adventure Kingdom, and in it you are a Tamagotchi creature who is kind of playing a role-playing game of sorts. And so, as is the case, these games start out with a long introduction to the game where it seems some sort of asteroid or object has crashed, and you are a little Tamagotchi who needs to figure out what in the world is going on. I must be close to the meteor site. There's stardust everywhere. And on the right, you can see that I have kind of a place to press. And on the left, I can move my thumb around to try and move along on the map. I can see that it's currently night, and wow, I just barely missed getting hit by that object. It says, what's happening? Is that a geyser? Wait, I can't go back home. Uh-oh. And that's kind of frustrating that I can't go around it. So I guess I need to keep moving forward. You can see the little sparkles that are kind of leading me. And there are little things opening up all over the place. Oh dear. What happens if I start to go this way? Oh, the meteor crashed up there in that forest clearing. Keep following the stardust. Oh, are you railroading me? So we'll move along to the next area. And here we look. Oh, there's the... Wait, that looks like it might be alive. It looks very sad, having crashed down to Earth. I wonder if this is the one that went over Berlin the other day. I'm so sorry, says Meteorici. I crashed into your planet by accident, mister. Just call me Mamechi. Wow, you're a Tamagotchi like us. What happened? So my name is Meteorichi, and I'm a lone, or let's say Tamagotchi, Meteorichi, yeah. And I'm a lone space explorer, and while peeking into your galaxy, I got lost. Then I saw your gorgeous planet, and when I wanted to ask for some directions, a mysterious invisible force made me fall and crash right here. We call that gravity. I'm so sorry. I have the choice to say invisible force or don't worry. I'm going to say don't worry because I know what the invisible force was, although it could be different in this planet. You're small and harmless, so not a big deal. And I don't think you'd hurt this Tamagotchi planet at all. Maybe it's called Gravitachi there or something. You didn't even leave a crater. It probably felt like a I can't. They said mosquito ichi bite, and that's just goofy. So Tamagotchi Adventure Kingdom, again, is kind of in the vein of some of these other RPG kind of collection exploration games that have taken place in the Apple Arcade store. What it will remind you of, very likely, is what is the animal game now? Animal Crossing. Thank you. I knew it started with animal and I couldn't think of the second word. Animal Crossing. You explore, you collect things, you decorate your home, you talk to people in the city, and apparently everything has to end in ichi. So if you can get past that, then maybe this is the game for you. But I wanted to mention it because it was just recently announced as a new game available in Apple Arcade. All right, Rosemary, take us out of this game and tell us about your first pick.
All right, my first pick is one I've kind of talked about on the show before, but it was a couple of hundred episodes ago, so I'll forgive you if you don't remember it. And this is Mahjong Titan Plus. Now, the plus is important because the plus indicates that it is the Apple Arcade version of the game, not the regular version of the game, which has ads in. And guess what? In this game, you play Mahjong. Yep, that's it.
I never would have guessed.
It gets less simple as you go in that you get more and more complex Mahjong puzzles to solve. But there are a number of options that you can configure in this, like, for example, if you want background music or not, and things like that, of which I've got rid of most of it. I've set my background to this lovely purple. But you know what? It's just a nice game. I find it's very pleasing to just sit and play a couple of rounds of Mahjong. And it's also just nice to look at the tiles because they're so pretty. They've got some really lovely designs on them. And also because I'm trying to talk and look at this at the same time, not seeing anything I can match up, but I know there's got to be a bunch of stuff. There we go. I'm kind of getting back into the swing of it now. But just to show folks some of the options, there are loads of backgrounds that you can choose from to suit, various, visual needs and or preferences. There are different tile sets you can choose from. So I've got the very traditional ones here. There's also some lighter ones which don't have such pretty pictures on them, more sort of traditional functional pictures. There's alphabet ones, there's flags, there's some white Mahjong tiles, there's fruits, and so on. And you could use this with kids and so on as well. And then there are the options. So I've got music and sound off, but you can choose to show the time in the game. You can choose to show your free tiles, show the number of matches left, show a quick match animation, sort your boards by stars, have notifications, and enable Game Center integration as well, where you can play against your friends in the Apple Game Center. Something I'm not particularly interested in doing, but it's an option if you would like that. But as it is, I can just close that and go back to playing Mahjong. I wish I'd actually started this one before I started talking about it, because if I had, then there would be a chance that I could get to the end of this and just show you the little animation that it does, which is kind of cute at the end. But as it is, I don't think I'll get there while I'm talking to folks. But as it is, I'm still enjoying this as a game, and there's something to be said for a classic game that many people know, love, and recognize straight off the bat. It comes up with all different patterns depending on the level that you open when you select the game, or you can just progress through and let it get progressively more difficult. It's up to you.
Nice. The next one that I'll mention, and I don't have to talk about this for very long, it's a game called Corn Sweeper. And in Corn Sweeper, it's Minesweeper, but it's corn. So you are playing Minesweeper, but instead of sort of selecting parts that are okay to are okay to reveal and saying that there are mines in certain places. Your job is to make sure that you don't get any burnt kernels. So here you can see the unpopped corn, or those are the kernels that are available. And when you tap on a kernel and you pop it, it either turns into popcorn or it booms when it is indeed a bomb. And so here, when it turns into popcorn, it tells you the number of bombs that are around the piece of popcorn. So because if we're looking at the top area, the top left quadrant, we can see 3 pieces of popped corn, and they each have a 1 next to them. And the one that's below and to the right also has a 1. The 3 at the top, there are no corn kernels to the left of it, only to the right. Okay, so we know that each of those has to be a piece of burnt popcorn. Up at the top, it shows you the number of spots that are corn and the number of bombs, or excuse me, again, not bombs, burnt pieces of corn there are, and how many unpopped kernels you have left. So I have 12 unpopped kernels, and 7 of those kernels somewhere are bombs. And so I want to tap on this. Too bad that was a bomb. So you can see what happens if you don't get it, and you can replay and try again. So if you like Minesweeper, but you don't like sweeping mines, then try sweeping corns with Cornsweeper. Yay. All right. Again, these have all been games that have recently come to Apple Arcade, not necessarily games that are, reaching the top charts on Apple Arcade. But for those of you who like Minesweeper, perhaps this is for you. Rosemary, what's next on your list?
Well, Mikah, I'm going to be a little sneaky. I'm going to do a 2-in-1 because, some folks love mini metros. Some folks love mini motorways. Well, Mini Metros Plus and Mini Metro Plus and Mini Motorways Plus are both available on Apple Arcade. And if you like one, there's a fairly good chance you're going to like the other. Either way, Mini Metro is a great little game, which apparently I'm going to struggle to show you. But the idea is you've got to build a metro. And as, things come in, you've got different kinds of stations that you need to connect. And they need to connect with different colors. You need to add different cars and things like that to be able to, connect things and, have a functioning metro. So I've now managed, and it's really difficult to show you folks, but I've now got 3 metro lines running. Woo, look at that. And then there is a 4th one. So I'm going to run that down there like that. And I have a feeling this is going to stitch me later. But you know what? Not a lot I can do about it right now, and I'll just live with it. But as new cities come in, you can unbuild metros from where they previously were, and add, new lines onto things. That is not the line that I wanted to add there. That's the line I wanted to add. I wanted to extend the red because, it definitely needs to be going at a weird sort of corner angle. But yes, Mini Motorways is very similar in that you are building a motorway for a city, and there are, various different shops and so on that need, cars brought to them and taking away from them at various times of day and so on and so forth. So, if you love a little strategy game, which does get the difficulty, it seems like it's fine to start with, and then suddenly you've got loads of passengers or drivers in the case of mini motorways, and you just need to solve the problem as rapidly as you can. It can get a little bit stressful, but nothing that a little bar of chocolate wouldn't solve. I highly recommend both of those games, and they are incredibly enjoyable and included in the Apple Arcade subscription.
I wanted to mention one that will be out by the time this episode publishes, because this game does look like it'll be a lot of fun. It was announced via Apple's newsroom, and it's a game called Words in Progress. Words in Progress is a game that's a little bit like Tetris, but with words. You are basically given a page that has letters on it, and in some cases several numbers, and slowly but surely little letter tiles are added to the screen, and your job is to start to build words out of those letters and do it before the tiles fill up. And then as you build words, you can drag them to the top of the screen to kind of say, okay, these are the words that I have decided are done. So, for example, you might have several letters come down and you start to spell out the word word. You could wait for an S to come along so that you could spell out words, or you could just go ahead and let word be your final answer. You get 23 points for words versus word, which is going to be less than 22 points. And so they show, obviously, spelling words in progress. And I think this one looks like it would be a lot of fun, and it's just a different kind of puzzle game that is a little bit, I was getting real cozy there watching it. That's okay. But it's a little bit low. What's the word I'm looking for? It seems like it's a kind of easy, fun game to play as opposed to having a lot of scary time limit and that kind of thing. So, you should check out. This is one I'll actually recommend versus the other two, which maybe aren't my style. Words in Progress definitely seems like my style. And in fact, I chose Get so that I can start playing it on February 1st. So I am looking forward to that. All right, Rosemary, round us out with some of the newer and interesting games in Apple Arcade.
Well, what I'm going to suggest, actually, I would like to recommend Snakeo Plus because it's like Snake, but it's a little bit more 3D. But what I actually want to say to folks is I would highly recommend open the Apple Store app and go to the Apple Arcade tab, which is the fourth tab in from the left or the first one in from the right, and have a look. Now, obviously, you can see the new features at the top, but right underneath that, there is a horizontal scroll bar for different kinds of games. Okay, so if you're somebody who is into puzzle games, you can tap on puzzle and you can see an example of some of the most popular puzzle games available on Apple Arcade. And similarly, if you are really into word games like Mikah is and I am, then you can tap and you can see, I really want to try Dear Reader, actually, Mikah. I feel like you probably also really like that. And there's also Word Web, WURD Web. And that you cross words to make webs, and it just looks like so much fun. But yeah, there's a lot of great different games in here. Obviously, you can see the top Apple Arcade games. You can see their must-play games. You can go into the new games and so on. If you want to get Sonic Dream Team, by all means, go ahead. I have actually been playing that on my Apple TV. I'm not sure why it says Get here, but it's definitely good fun. And yeah, there's a lot that you can find by just looking at the categories and having an explore every once in a while. And also, they do update this page on a regular basis with different features of different apps. So it's worth popping in there every once in a while just to see what's new and takes your fancy. And it might be that you've never seen Fruit Ninja before. And Fruit Ninja, I remember having that on my very first iPad. It was amazing. I loved it. And you know what? I've re-downloaded it and I'm having just as much fun as I ever did. I kind of want to play it on a Vision Pro though. So we'll have to see. There was something on, I believe it was Apple's developer blog from the Fruit Ninja developers a little while ago. I haven't had a chance to read it yet, but who knows? Maybe we'll get Fruit Ninja in 3D. It'll be like Beat Saber, but less music and more fruit.
And that is that as far as Apple Arcade. Apple Arcade, again, is available as a $6.99, $7 per month subscription. If you choose to purchase it individually, that gives you access to all of the games in Apple Arcade. One of the benefits of Apple Arcade games, Apple basically sets some rules for them. 1, no ads. 2, they need to be able to be played without access to the internet. So some games require internet access to do a bunch of stuff. These games do not. For multiplayer features and things like that, yes, you need internet access, but it's not a requirement for the game. And then 3, there tend not to be pay-to-play mechanics because you're not paying for the game. So I say tend not to be because occasionally you'll get a game that will have stars and blueberries like I was talking about in the previous episode, but it's not the only way to continue playing the game. It's not like you only have so much energy for the day, that kind of thing. If there are Apple Arcade games you think we should be checking out or we should be talking about, as always, I invite you, email us iostoday@twit.tv. All right, let's move along to the news segment. First and foremost, the Apple Vision Pro, by the time we publish this episode, will have been available for folks to try for about a week, just under a week. And so many of you, or some, not many of you, but some of you will have either tried them yourselves or watched other people talking about it. And I wanted to mention some of the experiences that Apple has talked about that go along with the Apple Vision Pro. So along with this device, which is launching, of course, it's essentially more pixels than a 4K TV for each of your eyes, and then it's got a spatial audio system and all this stuff. There are going to be a lot of Apple TV Plus shows that are created with the Apple Vision Pro in mind. So they'll have these kind of landscape environments that you'll be able to be in and to enjoy. And one of the things that Apple talks about is a built-in experience that's called Encounter Dinosaurs. And this is something that has existed since the official launch of the Apple Vision Pro. Some of the press who got to try it at WWDC were given a preview of this Encounter Dinosaurs app. And in it, you kind of move around in a virtual environment and get to kind of see dinosaurs right in front of you. And from what I remember of the early reactions regarding it, it was a little shocking at times and quite interesting. The Vision Pro itself features dual driver audio pods, they're called, and they provide spatial audio to each ear. So you've got Dolby Atmos support, lossless audio support with the Apple Vision Pro headset itself. So if you're watching content that supports that, you will have that experience. So you can imagine with this Encounter Dinosaurs deal, you would be able to kind of hear the dinosaur in different spots. And there are, of course, apps that provide individual experiences as well. So it says users can open apps within environments. So you could be on the moon and stream music, listen to audiobooks, listen to podcasts, watch podcasts, and then look up at the starry night sky in Yosemite, surf the web from a place in Hawaii, or settle in for a movie during a storm on Mount Hood. You can adjust that environment by moving the digital crown. And ultimately, I think starting off, we're going to see this as kind of, as Apple calls it, a personal theater for TV shows, films, sports, and more. But 3D movies are supposed to be experienced in, a new, better way. And then they've also got some specific content for what's called Apple Immersive Video. This is a new format that is completely created or pioneered by Apple. It's got 180-degree 3D 8K recordings that are captured with spatial audio. So one thing that people will be able to watch, again, in the Apple TV app at no additional cost, is Alicia Keys' rehearsal room. So you can watch Alicia Keys go through her creative process and watch her play some different songs. Adventure, which is about some athletes that go through different challenges. Wildlife, that, as you might imagine, involves different animals. And then Prehistoric Planet Immersive, it's called. Plus loads more. We'll see information from developers themselves as that takes place, as we see more apps and things that add support for this. So, as always, stay posted to TWiT, where we'll be covering as much of this stuff as we possibly can. A little unfortunate, Apple originally said that the Apple Vision Pro would AirPlay what you're viewing on screen to a device at 1080p. The web page where that information is listed has been updated. It's now 720p. So those experiences as you're viewing them externally are not as good as we thought they were going to be, but still, we'll be able to provide kind of a view of what's being seen on the screen. And perhaps I'll record an episode of iOS Today with the headset on and my eyes just creepily blinking. That should be interesting. I also wanted to mention Apple sells its own Apple Vision Pro travel case at $199.99. No, I'm sorry. Not $199.99, $199 and no cents. Very expensive for carrying your Apple Vision Pro. But one of the companies Rosemary mentions quite often, Spigen or Spigen, Spigen, have announced something called the Klasden pouch that will be available soon for $89.99. It is a travel case for your Apple Vision Pro headset, and I quite like the look of it. I think it's pretty. It looks like it's got good cushion support. It's got little straps that will hold different parts of your headset. If you have the inserts that you need, the Zeiss inserts, that looks like there's a place for that as well. Very cleverly designed. And I'm also looking forward to seeing what, and I don't have a link for this because they haven't put it out yet, but SF Bags, which is also known as Waterfield Designs. They are a San Francisco-based case maker and bag maker. They were there on day one pre-ordering the Apple Vision Pro so that they can get measurements and everything and create a case for it as well. So we'll be on the lookout for what they create too. Lastly, I'll mention that Belkin does also offer, and got to be there on day one, a battery holder for the Apple Vision Pro. So that battery that connects to the Apple Vision Pro can slide into this holder, and then you can kind of put it on a belt or wherever you happen to want to put it, versus kind of sticking it in a pocket as Apple sees it for the initial interactions with the device. So some different accessories out there, but mostly this is just a heads up that soon you will see some Apple Vision Pro content here on iOS Today as well. All right. Rosemary Orchard, I think you've got one. Oh, no. There's just the one story there that I wanted to mention. I forgot about this. If you have I thought this was kind of cool. If you have a Honda Accord from 2018 to 2022, there's a good chance that you can take your Honda in for servicing to have Apple CarPlay wireless added to your Honda Accord. You don't hear about this a lot. And so I thought this was really neat that Honda is making it possible for folks who have CarPlay in their Accord to go from that wired version of CarPlay to a wireless version of CarPlay by taking it in and having it retrofitted. So you don't necessarily have to do that on your own.
It's not even a retrofit, Mikah. It's actually a software update. It's just that the Hondas don't actually have any connectivity baked into the actual car. So you just got to take it in. So basically you can just plug in the firmware update device and let it do its thing. But yeah, there's not even going to be any physical hardware changes to your car. So it's definitely worth knowing about if you've got a Honda that this is applicable for.
That is too cool. Alrighty, folks. I can hear the music. It's time for Shortcuts Corner. This is Shortcuts Corner, the part of the show where you write in with your shortcuts requests, and Rosemary Orchard, our shortcuts expert, provides a response. The shortcut request this week comes in from Simon, who writes, "Hi, Mikah and Rosemary. I'm so happy that iOS Today continues on Club TWiT." Hey, me too, Simon. Now that we have our own club corner of the internet, I wanted to follow up on a question I sent in last year, which Rosemary answered. I think I worded it wrongly, so it didn't really answer my question. Sorry, my fault. I asked Rosemary how she organizes her shortcuts, as I noticed she had over 1,000 in the app. Rosemary helpfully suggested using folders in the app. However, what I was meaning to ask was whether you have any tips on using them on the home screen. For those shortcuts that require you to manually run them, I find having loads really overwhelming to manage. Sometimes I wonder if it would just be easier to use the individual apps themselves rather than setting up shortcuts, having to remember what they're called and where they are on my phone, etc. Apart from really trying to reduce down to my most used shortcuts, is there a better way to ensure that I'm getting the most out of them without shortcut overload? Love the show, Simon. So this would be the opposite of what, well, not really the opposite, but I think of Matthew Casanelli, who has so many little shortcuts icons on his home screen, and his home screen changes based on the time of day and what he's doing, and just shortcuts on shortcuts on shortcuts available at the tap of a button. Simon seems to be asking, how can I organize those?
Yeah. So, I mean, first of all, when you wrote in last time, Simon, and I pointed you to folders, there's a good reason for that, because what you can do in shortcuts is you can use widgets, and you can point your widgets at a particular folder. So, for example, if I were to add, I'm going to add this medium-sized widget here to my home screen, and then if I just tap on that in the middle, I can change the folder that it's selecting from. Now, of course, there is a downside to this, and I'm just going to pick where is my iOS Today folder? There it is. This is taking up the space of 8 app icons, okay? 4 across, 2 down. There are 4 shortcuts icons on here. For those folks doing the maths at home, you are correct. That is 50% less shortcuts for your buck. But of course, you can always stack these up so that you can have multiple shortcuts widgets on top of each other. And now I have to find the shortcuts widgets. There we go. Oh, no, that's not shortcuts. There's shortcuts. And so I can add another one of these in here as well. And then I'm just going to move this big widget over to the next screen so that I can then just grab this and stack these together. Now, if you're going to do a stack, okay, so now I do have 8 shortcuts icons in the space of 8 home screen apps, and I have to swipe between them. If you're going to do this, I do suggest tapping on it and considering carefully. Definitely turn off widget suggestions if you don't want random widgets that Apple thinks you might like showing up in this stack. But Smart Rotate is something, it can be good, can be bad. When it learns what you actually want and it gets it right, that's great. If you're constantly changing the shortcuts that are available in these 2 widgets, though, not so great. I would personally turn that off, and then you can just switch between those so that you can use them. But next up, going back to my original folder suggestion, there's a reason for that, because I have a number of shortcuts that I will only use from the share sheet, for example. And so what I do on the share sheet is, if you open up your share sheet, then you've got the things that you've got pinned at the top, and then you've got some, related to the specific app that you're in things. So because I'm in Safari right now, it's giving me the option to add to reading list, add a bookmark, add to favorites, etc. And then I've got all of these other share sheet possibilities here. Now, if you scroll to the bottom, yep, I tapped on one on the way. Darn it. I've got a few too many shortcuts in here, so I need to have a clean out. And this is something that I need to do. If I tap edit actions, then I can make a point of pinning a few of the things that I actually want, the shortcuts actions that I really want regularly available to me right here. And that's what I've done. I've got link to OmniFocus and share URL from input. Because Mikah, when you copy from the Amazon app, and it's like, and I want to send a link to Mikah. Mm-hmm. So you copy a link and then it puts a bunch of data onto your clipboard, which includes like the name of the product, which there's a URL there, and that URL, if I paste that in messages, that's going to come up with a nice little preview, including an image and the name of the thing. So I don't want to send you the name of the thing and then also send you the link. Right. That's redundant. So I have this share URL from input, which just gets the URLs from input and then gives me a share sheet so I can continue to share that information along. It works so well for a lot of apps. But then I've got, my most used share sheet shortcuts here. And something that is related to this, and it's very important if you're going to create a share sheet shortcut, because when you create a new shortcut and you say, okay, I'm going to tap on the info bubble at the bottom in my brand new shortcut, and I'm going to turn on show in the share sheet. This now appears for 19 19, folks, different kinds of file. And when I say kinds of file, I'm not talking about like MP3 versus M4A. No. I'm talking audio, video, image, PDF, calendar documents, you name it. So the first thing that I do after I turn on Share Sheet is I tap on that clear button, and then I go and I select, realistically, the two that I want. Like, I will probably want Safari web pages and URLs because I might want either or a map link and locations. But if I want to share contacts into this, I don't want to be able to share rich text into it or a PDF or a folder. That doesn't make sense. So be really, judicious about clearing that up. And I'm just going to make a point again of deleting that shortcut because I have a lot of shortcuts floating around. And if you tap on the back button in shortcuts, so I was in my all shortcuts list here. If you tap on the shortcuts with the arrow at the top, then you can see the shortcuts that are appearing on your Share Sheet. So that's a really good way to go through and clear those ones out. Here's also where on your iPhone, you can see the ones syncing to your Apple Watch because by default, your shortcuts sync to your Apple Watch. Great. Would be great if they actually worked on my Apple Watch. A lot of these don't work on my Apple Watch. And I have 563 shortcuts on my Apple Watch. Guess what I'm not going to be spending my evening doing? Scrolling through 563 shortcuts on my Apple Watch. I probably want about 3 of them. So realistically, what I will probably do is select all and then not remove, but I'll go through and I'll just have to turn it off on all of them, which is slightly annoying. But yeah, so aside from that, don't forget, you can also use Siri. So that can be either via the voice assistant or via the search. So for example, if I were to want to run a shortcut, which will help me find apps missing data for iOS today, then I can start searching, and I've just typed apps missing, and then I found fix apps missing data for iOS today. So whenever I'm preparing for a show, I write a little list of apps, but then my iPhone can check and see if I've got like the price and the URL for them as well. So that if we're sharing any in the show notes, then that information is already there for the fabulous folks at TWiT who are putting everything together, and they don't have to go, scoping around later for which snake game was she talking about on Apple Arcade? There's 7 of them. Which one did she mean? And so I can find any of these shortcuts via the search. This is even more powerful on your iPad or your Mac, where it's just command space away when you've got a keyboard. But that's one of the things I do. And then sometimes, I do add shortcuts to my home screen. And when I do that, so I'll just pop into my iOS Today folder here. And I'll tap on, I don't want to actually run the shortcut stop. But I'll just tap on that 3 dots there. If I tap on the Share Sheet inside of a shortcut, then yes, I can scroll down a little bit and then I can add to home screen. Something to note, when you're adding it to home screen, you'll see fix apps missing data for iOS today. If you're watching the video, it does not fit under an app icon name. That is not going to work, is it? But I can just tap on that little cross there because it uses the shortcut name. And then I can type, I'll type for an emoji. And so I'll find the iPhone. Perfect. And then I'll just add the word apps after that. And I'll hopefully remember that that's for that. And then that's right here now. And so that's there. But Mikah mentioned before Matthew Castanelli, who has different home screens available in different focus modes. Right now, I'm in my podcasting focus mode. So I have home screens available to me that I don't usually see. This can actually be really, really useful when you want to run shortcuts and put shortcuts in front of you. Because, if you've got, like me, I've got work shortcuts, I've got podcasting shortcuts, and I've got my, day-to-day life shortcuts that I use. And I don't have my day-to-day life shortcuts appearing on my primary home screen while I'm working. And I don't have them appear on my home screen at all while I'm podcasting, because I have the different home screens. So, think about what you want in what context. And worst case scenario, Simon, just create a new folder, call it I don't know, or something like that in shortcuts, and put all of your shortcuts in there. As some folks might be able to tell, I have 266 shortcuts in a folder called Organize. It is a long process. I also have a lot of unorganized shortcuts that I really need to sort out because I have 1,871. I will have to say, I do not practice what I preach. I am not perfect at organizing my shortcuts. I usually just open the Shortcuts app. There's a reason, folks, why it's in my dock. And I'm go in the All Shortcuts view, and I just type into the search. and then I find the thing that I'm looking for because I know it's a shortcut. So I don't have to deal with, having Siri suggest, an app that happens to have a similar name because I've got, a finance tracking shortcut or something like that. So yeah, there's a lot of options there, but I'd recommend exploring widgets and stacked widgets, especially as now Shortcuts has a nice small widget, which allows you to have two Shortcuts icons on there. So, for example, you might want to stack that behind your music so that you can have, your two Shortcuts actions that are related to music of, jump into this playlist and just start shuffling it for me. And favorite this song. Those are two actions that I use regularly that I like having shortcuts actions for on my home screen. I can use this brand new little shortcuts folder widget for that, and I can stack that behind my music widget on my home screen.
Nice. Well, there are some options for you to get it working and get yourself organized on Shortcuts. Folks, that is going to bring us to the end of this episode of iOS Today. As always, I invite you to send us your emails. iOStoday@twit.tv is how you get in touch. If you have questions, comments, Shortcuts Corner requests, that kind of thing, you can send that to us there. Rosemary Orchard, if folks want to follow you online and check out all the great work you're doing, where should they go to do so?
Well, the best place to go is to rosemaryorchard.com, which has links to apps I'm involved in, a book I've written, podcasts I'm on, and so on. And there's also links to all of the social media there. I'm active on the text-based ones, much more than the picture-based ones, folks. And other than that, you can also find me in the Club TWiT Discord. I'm usually hanging out in the live chat during the show, as folks often have little questions that they want to ask us as we're talking about something. So it's always nice to be able to answer those. And yeah, other than that, I'm hanging out in the iOS Today forum channel in the Discord. What about you, Mikah? Where can folks find you? You
can find me at chihuahua.coffee. That's CHIHUAHUA.coffee, where I've got links to the places I'm most active online. And of course, you can check out my shows on Thursdays. I record Tech News Weekly. And you can also watch Ask the Tech Guys, which is a show I co-host with Leo Laporte, where we take your tech questions live on air and do our best to answer them. On Sundays, we record that show around about 2 p.m. Eastern, which is more like 2:11 to 2:15 p.m. Eastern, 11:15 a.m. Pacific. Anyway, tune in on Sundays at some point if you want to watch us record that show live. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of iOS Today. Thank you so much for your support as a Club TWiT member. We will catch you again real soon. Next time, hopefully with some great... actually, it'll be a bit, but we'll have some Apple Vision Pro coverage for you soon as well. All right. Bye-bye.